breaking news where the league has banned Brett Stewart until round 5 of the competition. The league has suspended him under the NRL's Code of Conduct in a decision that was given the full support of what was an angry NRL board. Now, Stewart was last night charged with sexual assault, and the league says it makes no judgment in relation to police matters, saying Stewart has been suspended for letting the league down, not as a result of being charged by police. Now, the league has also fined Manly $100,000. NRL Chief David Gallop says by any estimation there was an abuse of alcohol in the aftermath of that club function that has led in some part to the game being placed under enormous pressure. Now, the league says players and clubs need to know that we accept that, and pretty strong words you would have to say from the NRL, and really some strong action as well. Brett Stewart stood down until round 5, which is after his court appeal. That is on April 7, and the Manly club fined $100,000. Manly and Stewart will have 5 days to appeal the decision. Now, at NRL headquarters, we have Fox Sports News reporter Christian Jansen. Christian, good afternoon to you. Firstly, set this up for us. Who attended on behalf of Manly this morning, and at what time did they arrive?
Well, Ryan, it was certainly a heated meeting between the NRL board and members of the Manly club. Representing the Sea Eagles, we had their co-owner, Scott Penn, and it was interesting. He spoke afterwards, along with the chief executive, Grant Mayer, was there also for the Eagles. They left Eagles training early just to get here at 9:30. Now, the meeting concluded at around about 12:30, so about a 3-hour meeting, a lot longer than we expected. It was basically two sides going at it, hammer and tongs. We had the Manly club defending their right to play Brett Stewart against the Bulldogs in round 1. The NRL, obviously, David Gallop's made it clear he wasn't going to allow that, and it's emerged, as you said, that 4-game suspension and the $100,000 fine. And Scott Penn, the co-owner of Manly, emerged, and he was very, very disappointed. And he said, "We will be taking stock of this, and I think you can certainly expect an appeal from the Eagles."
Well, the thing that I found alarming in that statement, and I'll just repeat it again, that he basically says that it was in no relation to police matters. Now, they're the words from David Gallop. I find it hard to believe that it wasn't in relation to the police matters.
Very interesting point to come out of it, isn't it? Is it just passing the buck? I don't know. The 4-game suspension stands, but David Gallop did say it's got nothing to do with the allegations of sexual assault. So he's the NRL wiping their hands clean there of perhaps setting a precedent of any player charged. So his suspension has nothing to do with the charge. Interestingly, Brett Stewart was suspended because he is the new face of the NRL, the new advertising campaign, which was supposed to come out last week. It hasn't lasted too long. It's been changed, we understand. But he has been more harshly dealt with because of that. Gallop also mentioned Anthony Watmo's incident where he had an altercation with a Manly sponsor at that same infamous season launch for the Eagles at the Manly Wharf. Now, Watmo wasn't suspended, in Gallop's words, because he wasn't the face of the game. So different treatment for Stewart and Watmo, and bearing in mind they're both, up for the same sort of incident. Nothing to do with the court incident, both from the launch. One player, Stewart, suspended, one player, Watmo, not suspended. Now, the $100,000 fine, funnily enough, does incorporate what Watmo has done. So without getting a suspension, Watmo has incurred the club a fine, but he's got out of this relatively scot-free.
Did Manly make any statement after the decision?
Yeah, Scott Penn answered a few questions. He said they'll be taking stock of the situation. They're going back to the club now. We may hear from them later today, but they do have 5 days to appeal. And reading between the lines, it looks like, well, they're certainly not happy, but reading between the lines, there should be an appeal. I'd expect that. We asked David Gallop, would the NRL be in a position to listen to their appeal, be open-minded? He said certainly. As he said, there's protocols to abide by there, and they've got 5 days. So we probably haven't heard the last of this, but the main point coming out of today's meeting was two sides going at it, hammer and tongs, and the NRL coming out on top.
I'd imagine there was a large contingent of media and quite a gallery there. Was the consensus one of congratulations for the NRL, I guess, taking what seems to be a very, very hard line, or or was it one of surprise that they were so harsh?
Yeah, I think everyone was surprised that we weren't expecting a suspension. We were perhaps maybe a suspension based on the sexual assault allegations, but we weren't expecting a suspension purely based on the actions of Stewart at the launch and bringing the game into disrepute. We kind of expected a fine, but $100,000 is a big fine, and particularly when you think how NRL clubs are struggling these days, that's a lot of money. But yeah, a bit of surprise about the way Stewart was suspended, the reason he was suspended.
Not very good news ahead of the season opener, not just for Manly, but also the NRL. Really, it is news they could have done without, and I guess Manly now will be thinking who will play fullback for the season opener this weekend against the Bulldogs. Christian, thanks very much for bringing us up to date with all the latest there at the NRL, and we'll speak with you soon.
Thanks very much, Ryan.
So just repeating that big news from the NRL, Brett Stewart has been stood down until round 5 of the NRL competition, and the Manly club has been fined $100,000 because of their season function and bringing the game into disrepute. The club has 5 days to appeal that decision, and we'll follow that story throughout the afternoon here on Channel 513.
Fox Sports News on Channel 513. It's on all the time.